Alright, good morning guys, it's Mr. Middleton here. Today we're going to continue with graphing quadratics. Okay, last time we talked about finding the axis of symmetry and the vertex. We'll continue with that today, and we'll bring it to fruition when we'll graph a quadratic in entirety. Alright, so kind of reviewing what we did last time. Here is a quadratic, and we're going to find the axis of symmetry and the vertex. Okay, if you remember from last time, axis of symmetry was x equals opposite b over 2a. And so to find that for this, opposite b is 6, so negative 6 over 2 times a is 1. So negative 6 divided by 2, which will be negative 3. So our axis of symmetry is at x equals negative 3. And remember that we find our vertex by plugging that in, axis of symmetry into the equation, and solving for y, basically. And so we're plugging that in. We have negative 3 squared plus 6, and then in parentheses negative 3 plus 11. So that's 9 minus 18 plus 11. Alright with that, yep. Alright, so that will be 2. So when x is negative 3, y is 2. Alright, now from there, what we'll do, if we can do that, if you got that, you're good. If you are confused by that, then you might want to go back and look back at the Unit 9 Lesson 1, because we need to build on that. Okay, so that's what we did yesterday. So we'll put our vertex and our axis of symmetry on the graph. We're going to graph this function on this front side. So we have our vertex. Remember our axis of symmetry. Remember our axis of symmetry is always a vertical line. Okay, and I usually like to have something visual so I can see it. So I give my dotted line here so I can see what's happening at x equals negative 3. My vertex will be at negative 3, 2. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. I'm going to plot that. Okay, so we have that. We have the vertex. We have the axis of symmetry on there. And now we're going to create a table of values of the, or with the vertex in the middle. Okay, and we saw yesterday that if you did not have the vertex in the middle, then what would happen is that you wouldn't get the U-shaped curve that you know should happen with the quadratic. So I'm putting the U-shaped curve. I'm going to make sure I get that by finding my axis of symmetry, putting my vertex in the middle, and then choosing points around this value. So negative 2, negative 1, negative 4, negative 5. Okay. So notice I didn't just choose negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2 because it wouldn't have made sense here. It wouldn't have shown me my u. But by finding the middle of the graph, I make sure I find that u. Okay, now I am going to use my calculator. And you don't have to use a calculator. You see I did that up here without using a calculator. But if you have one, it makes it a little bit faster. I'm going to use my calculator to find the axis of symmetry, the other points. So my equation, I have negative 1 squared plus 6 negative 1 plus 11. And when x is negative 1, y is 6. Okay, and I can just do this really nicely, and every time I have those parentheses, I'm going to substitute it or change the number so I get the value I want now, 3. Negative 4, negative 4, just 3. Negative 5 and negative 5, which is 6. Okay, what do you notice about the y values? You should see that one step above the vertex is the same as the y value if you're one step below the vertex. And the same with 2 steps. Okay, and this is because of the symmetry of the parabola. Symmetry. Okay, so axis of symmetry, that is the line that cuts our parabola in half, and that's what's happening here. We have this axis of symmetry that cuts it in half on our graph, but actually we also have it that cuts it in half on our table. So that the numbers that you see above our vertex are the same numbers you see below our vertex as well. Okay, and so we will plot these points on the graph. So I'm just going to plot them. I got -4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 1, 2, 3. I have -5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and you'll see that really I can 1, 2, just make sure that I'm symmetrical on that side. 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, and it should line up the same way. This axis of symmetry, if I folded the graph on top of itself, then the points will line up. Alright, so there we go. We graphed our U-shaped curve. Okay, it's not one of those regular ones that was just at 0. We actually had to find our axis of symmetry, had to plot our points, plug them in. Okay, but it works out. Axis of symmetry, vertex, fill in the table, plot your points. We'll flip to the back and do a couple more. Alright, so remember that process is the same process that we're going to use. We're going to find the axis of symmetry, we're going to find the vertex, okay, and then we're going to fill in the table. And after that, we'll plot our points. So our axis of symmetry is going to be x equals opposite b over 2a. For this problem, b is 8, so opposite b will be -8. 2 times -1. Okay, because this -1 is in front of here. So we have -8 divided by -2, which gives us 4. So our axis of symmetry is at x equals 4. So we know our axis of symmetry is there. To find our vertex, we will plug this value into our equation. Y equals -4 squared plus 8 times 4 minus 9. Okay, -4 squared plus 8 times 4 minus 9. Notice that I have this negative outside of the parentheses because that's what it's telling me by having this negative outside of this, or with this x. It's not saying it wants like -4 squared. It wants the negative of 4 squared, or the negative of whatever x is squared. Okay, so I don't have that negative in the parentheses. Make sure that you don't do that either. Okay, when we do that, we find out that y is 7. And so we found our vertex as 4, 7. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. X equals 4 is our axis of symmetry. Seven is our vertex. 4, 7 has to be on that axis of symmetry. Alright, and so now I'm going to make my table. X, Y. I know that 4, 7 has to be in the middle. I'm going to choose numbers around there, so 5 and 6 and 3 and 2. And then I'll plug those values in to get my other values. So I'll start with 2. Plug 2 in every time I plugged 4. When x is 2, y is 3. Type in 3. When x is 3, y is 6. Okay, on the front side we talked about the symmetry that we should see in our table. And so I know if I plug in 5, I should get 6. Because one step above was 6, so one step below will be 6. 2 steps above was 3, so 2 steps below will be 3. And I'll just check myself for your sake. I'll plug 6 in here. If I get 3, then I know that I did something right. Okay. Alright, so we're on the right path. I'm going to plug this in at 2, 1, 2, 3. At 4. Nope, at 3, 6. 3, 4, 6. Okay, it should mirror over this line. 1, 2 here, 1, 2 there. And here's my parabola. Okay, doesn't have to be perfect. Should be a U-shaped curve, but wow, that was bad. Okay. Alright, we'll do the same thing with this last example. If you feel comfortable, try it on your own. Actually, there is something tricky to it though, so look at this one with me. So, found our axis of symmetry, x equals opposite b over 2a, so 2 times 1/2. So negative 4 divided by 1, which is negative 4. We'll plug that into our equation. Y equals 1/2 negative 4 squared plus 4 times negative 4 plus 3. Okay, now notice here I have the negative 4 inside the parentheses because that's what x was. X was negative 4. There wasn't a negative already sitting out here. Alright, so I'll plug that in. I have 1/2 negative 4 squared plus 4 times negative 4 plus 3. And so I get y is negative 5. And so my vertex is at negative 4, negative 5. Okay, I'm going to make my table. Now, this is why I wanted you to stick around with me. Notice that this number in front of x is a fraction. Okay, and since you've been in my class, I said I don't like graphing fractions, and if you can avoid it, avoid graphing fractions. We know what the middle of our table is going to be. I'm going to show you how to avoid having fractions. Looking at this, when can you think, or when do you think that this will be a fraction? Okay, it'll be a fraction if x squared is an odd number. Okay, because 1/2 of an even number is a whole number. But 1/2 of an odd number gives us a fraction. So what I'm going to do in order to avoid having odd numbers is I'm not going to choose odd numbers. Okay, instead of doing 5 and 6 as my next two numbers, or negative, I should use those numbers wrong. But instead of using like a negative 5 and negative 6, I'm going to use negative 6 and negative 8, and negative 2 and 0 in my table. And by doing that, I'm ensuring that I'm not going to have a fraction. Okay, so I'm going to plug in 8 here. I'm going to have negative 8, that gives me 3. Plug in 6 here. When I have 6, that gives me negative 3. Okay, negative 2 should give me negative 3. 0 should give me 3. I'll plug in negative 2 just to make sure I'm on the right track. And I am. Okay, and so I have my values now. So my vertex is at negative 4, negative 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Negative 2, 3. Or 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And 0, 3. 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and this is why I usually like to have my axis of symmetry drawn, because that way I don't really have to count out the second half. I can just say, okay, my second half should be exactly that distance away from the line. So it's 2 away from the line on the right. My other line should be 2 away on the left. This is 1, 2, 3, 4 away. This should be 1, 2, 3, 4. It would be out here. Okay, but I know it's there. Alright, and so now I go to my graph. I do my U-shaped thing. Okay. Oh no. Okay. And so there we have it. Adding on to what we did yesterday. Yesterday we talked about axis of symmetry and vertex. Today we plotted the axis of symmetry and the vertex, and we also completed the table. Looked at kind of taking a shortcut by using symmetry, and we graphed our complete parabola. Okay. All right, see ya tomorrow.